After 7 years together, Riley finally stopped pretending and showed his hand. He peeled off the waiter's uniform and moved us back into a downtown penthouse. I had never once met his parents, and I didn't know a single friend of his. The first person I was introduced to was his fiancée, Vivian. Alex hasn't told you yet, has he? We're getting married soon. You've been with him all these years, I figured I should at least meet you. I couldn't take it. When I tracked him down, Riley was clinking glasses with his buddies. My wedding with Xiaoxian is right around the corner, be there to cheer us on. What, Lily? I can't spend my whole life with her, our families don't match. Vivian's already pregnant, I have to own up. My heart splitting, I pressed a hand to my stomach. Only recently there had been a child here too. One of his friends laughed and asked if he wasn't afraid I'd find out. Riley gave a scornful snort. So what if she knows? Want to bet? 10 million says she can't survive a single day without me. She might beg to be my mistress, after all, I saved her life. Where else is she gonna find a guy like me? I closed my eyes, pulled out my phone, and dialed Vienna. I've decided. Come marry me, Riley, guys like you are a dime a dozen where I'm going. Yes, that box, gently. Do you know who I am? You couldn't afford to replace it. When I got back, Vivian was already directing movers to haul things inside. Watching her stand arms folded, I finished the thought in my head. Quinn, heiress of the Vance Group, second largest conglomerate in the city, she and Riley are a perfect match. You're back? Perfect. Start moving. She didn't ask whether my trip had given me answers, she simply assumed I'd obey. With the snap of her fingers she summoned helpers, as used to ordering staff as breathing. I shook off my daze, bit my lip, and bent to lift a crate alongside the workers. Every time I stooped, my thigh bones creaked. My knees had always been weak, after a few boxes the joints ached. And the moment I returned, under Vivian's signal, the cheerful moving team unloaded a mountain of cartons downstairs and drove off. She was set on making me welcome her, box by box. Citing valuables can't risk the elevator, she made me climb the stairs. 21 floors, only 3 flights of 7, I told myself. Riley and I had moved this way once. Back then I hadn't had the car accident, and Riley was still the down-on-his-luck kid. We'd rented the cheapest top-floor walk-up. To save money we hadn't hired movers and lugged everything up ourselves. When we finished our backs were broken, yet we were happy. Bright-eyed, Riley had pressed his cheek to my palm. Lily, once I'm rich I'll take you to live in a downtown penthouse. At the time, what kind of amusement had flashed through him as he made a promise he'd already been born able to keep? Alex could blow the price of 1 bottle of champagne on what I'd struggle years to earn. A stiletto landed on the back of my hand. Move faster, are you deaf? The pressure increased. Lily, you're doing this on purpose. I thought you had some sense. Sweat poured off me, I was gasping, and now the sharp pain made me inhale again. I looked up, about to speak, when a familiar voice sliced through the doorway, icy. What the hell is going on here? Riley was home. Alex! You're finally back. Before I could open my mouth, the agony pinning my hand vanished. Vivian flung herself into his arms, pouting and pointing at me. The movers were careless, and Lily kept dropping my things. I really wanted us to get along. I staggered upright, meeting those familiar eyes, parted my lips, and found nothing. The loosened tie around his neck was the same one I'd knotted for him this morning. In a single day a person can become unrecognizable. Cameron, finally reacting, spoke in a flat tone. So you know now? Fine, better this way. Lily, if you want to stay with me, this is how it has to be. He didn't ask why I was soaked in sweat or glance at my injured hand. He knew my knees were bad, yet ignored the dozen boxes still waiting. In the end he offered those few words, then turned to soothe Vivian with honeyed concern. The movers bailed? Why not call another? What if you overexert yourself, and you're pregnant? Without even looking my way he added, your knees are shot, quit lifting. Go make Xiaoxian a pot of the chicken broth you're good at. Right, she's allergic to ginger and can't have much oil. She's pregnant, mind the restrictions. My mouth twisted into something uglier than a sob, and I finally croaked, "All right, I'll make the broth." My voice came out hoarse. "Forget it, Alex, we can just eat out," Vivian said, eyes poisonous though her tone was gentle. Riley waved it off. "She's used to it, just chicken broth, no big deal." Yes, I was used to it. Back when I believed he was drowning in debt, my heart ached at his 3 daily jobs. Mornings in a hotel kitchen, afternoons scrubbing offices, evenings odd work at the music conservatory, then coming home to the meal I'd cooked. I fainted more than once, yet the thought that he was waiting kept me warm. Only after he installed me in the penthouse did I learn that while I pulled together, he'd been who knows where, living large. Alex could pop one cork that cost more than I could earn in years. The steam from the broth fogged my glasses and my eyes. "But Riley, you were the one who wept apologies and begged me to move in." When I carried the soup to the table, Vivian's wrist flicked, "Oops," and scalding broth sloshed over me. "Clumsy much?" she yelped, cradling her own hand. "Xiaoxian, what happened?" Riley rushed from the bedroom, seizing her fingers to examine. I retreated 2 steps, the burn stinging, stomach empty since dawn, and the world went black. When I came to, my clothes had been changed. Riley was dabbing ointment on my arm, gripping my wrist. Those eyes could always make a woman feel she was the only one alive. I stared silently as he murmured, "Lily, I'm marrying Vivian, but if you behave, everything stays the same between us." And everything's still the same as before? I felt a surge of absurdity and couldn't stop myself from asking. Riley studied me for a long moment, then gave a curt, matter-of-fact nod. "Times are tough. This marriage alliance is necessary, Lily. You wouldn't make things difficult for me, would you? I'll give Vivian a child. After both families are satisfied, we'll go back to the way things were. You forgave me back then and moved in because you love me, right? You said it yourself, if you love someone, you accept everything about them." I pulled my hand free. When I blinked again, tears spilled over and my voice cracked. "But Riley, we had a child too, back then." Riley's hand froze mid-motion, and obvious impatience flitted across his face. "That was how many years ago? Do you have to keep holding on like this?" I closed my eyes, pain answering for me. "It's not years, it's 2 years and 11 months. One more month and it would be 3. Riley shot to his feet, fingers stabbing the air inches from my face, molars grinding audibly before he slammed the bedroom door so hard the frame shook. I knew he was heading for the master suite, Vivian's suite. While I'd been unconscious, the master bedroom had been cleared out, supposedly because the light was better for a pregnant woman. Rain whispered against the glass, the same drizzle that had fallen the night of my accident. I hadn't known I was pregnant then. After a late shift, terrified Riley's stomach would hurt from hunger, I hurried home and was sideswiped by a drunk driver. I called Riley countless times in the rain. He showed up at the hospital the next day. I thought that even if I'd lost the baby and wrecked my knee, at least I still had him. Only after moving in did I scroll through his phone and discover that that night he'd been out drinking. The entire tab covered courtesy of Mr. Vance. The night our baby died, the child's father rang up $400,000 worth of champagne, and the whole bar roared in celebration. "Lily, aren't you tired of this act?" Vivian lounged in the doorway in a silk nightgown that hugged every curve, eyes glittering with contempt. When I didn't answer, she studied her manicure as though I weren't worth the glance. "Riley and I are getting married next month." Put the fantasy to rest. "No, why next month?" "Because it's my birthday." Her gaze brimmed with venom, as if she just casually cracked open some ugly truth. I don't remember lunging, only the feel of her throat under my palms. Riley burst in, slapped me so hard my ears rang, and roared, "Lily! When will you stop?" Vivian sagged against his chest, sobbing. "I only wanted to talk to her, beg her not to fight with you because of me." Then she went crazy. Still weak, I crashed to the floor, head spinning, cheek burning, shrieking in despair. "Riley! Answer me!" 3 years ago, when I was miscarrying, were you in a bar toasting Vivian's birthday? Sight seared crimson, I watched Riley freeze. Before I could finish, Vivian suddenly clutched her belly, gasping. Lucian! She swayed as though she might faint, then shot me a vicious sideways glare. Lily, what did you put in the chicken broth? Ginger, didn't you? How could you hurt me like this? I'm carrying a child. Following her gaze, Riley turned to me, eyes colder than ice. I met them, shaking my head in slow motion. Riley, I didn't. Lily, you've disappointed me beyond words. He tossed that verdict over his shoulder and carried Vivian out the door. My vision blurred, the tears came at last, great racking sobs that felt like they could tear me in two. A heart dies quietly. Ding. My phone buzzed, several messages piggybacking on a string of missed international calls. Lily, why didn't you pick up? Just got off work. Are you already asleep? Sorry for texting so late, but I miss you. When you said you'd marry me, I nearly lost my mind with happiness. Was tied up, phone on silent, missed your calls. When Chase called, my voice still carried a thick nasal rasp. You've been crying? Across the line, his tone, steadier than years ago, was flooded with worry. What happened? Is it? I sighed, swallowing the sob. Chase, it's nothing, just a cold. I keep my promises. Give me a few more days, okay? Chase chuckled softly. Lily, I waited 10 years for you, what's a few more days? I murmured agreement, then Riley's call barged in. I answered to instant hostility. Who were you just talking to? A friend. You know them all. I shrugged it off, voice flat. Ever since I'd moved here, he'd tried to cut me off from my poor friends. The few I had left were women. Riley snorted, jealousy barely masked, but he didn't press. Get to the hospital. Apologize to Vivian. I refused without thinking. Her allergy has nothing to do with me. Have you lost your mind? He'd expected that, letting out a clipped laugh. You don't have a choice. When bodyguards forced me to my knees beside Vivian's bed, I was still thrashing. Let go! I didn't do it, get off me. Vivian reclined against Riley's chest, feigning delicacy. Lucian, isn't this a bit much? Riley stared at me, unmoved. Too much? She nearly killed you and your baby. If she can plot like this before the wedding, what comes after? Time she learned her place. I glared, about to spit fury, when a guard slammed my head to the floor. Thud. The cold tile rang against my skull while Riley's voice cracked like a whip. Lily, apologize. Through the pain I hissed, I'm not wrong, so why should I? Riley's silence yawned for long seconds before he said 2 words. Again. Harder. Only when black spots danced and I tasted blood did I recall the overseas call drifting across continents. Quiet at last, I stared at nothing, voice hollow, Dylan. Sorry, Quinn. I shouldn't have hurt you. It was all my fault. I'll remember my place from now on. I'm sorry. Each word scraped my throat raw. When I finally closed my eyes, no tears came. Riley, I have no more tears to waste on you. While the doctor dressed my wounds, I kept my eyes down, barely flinching each time the gauze brushed the cuts. It was as if I no longer knew what pain felt like. Riley watched with detached coldness. Only after a long moment did his expression soften a fraction. Lily, if you'd just do as you're told, you wouldn't have to suffer like this. I waited until the doctor finished and left, then eased myself back on the pillow and rolled away, refusing to look at him. The air froze between us, neither of us spoke. After being snubbed, Riley's face flushed with embarrassment. He stormed out in a sulk. He spent the night in Vivian's room, right next door, close enough for me to hear their murmurs and the creak of the bed. I was on the verge of vomiting and didn't close my eyes once. Early the next morning, a message from Riley popped up on my phone. Lily, Vivian and I talked it over last night. She's willing to give you another chance. Haven't you been looking at wedding magazines lately? In a month we're getting married. You can plan it, no sense letting your research go to waste. He sounded magnanimous, graciously throwing me a lifeline. I stared at the text, blood draining from my face, then suddenly started to laugh. It felt as if a hole had been punched straight through my heart and an icy wind was howling through the cavity. The laughter grew wilder, hoarse and ugly. Riley actually expected me, on the 3rd anniversary of the day I lost my child, to organize his wedding to another woman. What am I to him? A mistress? A housekeeper? A steward? A dog? What, exactly, do I mean to him? I yanked the 4-needle from the back of my hand, ignoring the blood that welled up, signed myself out, and went home. Standing in that vast, luxurious apartment, I packed with a blank face. The security door slammed shut behind me. This time I didn't look back. Riley, never again. When Riley walked in, the rooms were dim. He'd been tied up with back-to-back meetings, then raced to the hospital after work. The moment the doctors assured him Vivian was out of danger, he learned Lily had already discharged herself. Instantly, he was furious. What game is she playing? Did Vivian or I ever do anything to provoke her? She brought every bit of this on herself. Lily? He flicked on the lights and called into the silence, then Cameron. The place felt unnervingly empty, as though something vital had been scooped out. Unable to pin down what was missing, he headed for the bedroom, brows knitted. What more do you think you're? The bedroom light blazed, revealing a bed perfectly made and completely bare. The accusation died in his throat, half swallowed, half choking him. Lily? Only then did it strike him what the apartment lacked. Every trace of Lily had vanished, clothes, toiletries, even the alarm clock from her nightstand. It looked as though she had never lived here at all. Well, almost never. There was, for instance, the stuffed toy in the wastebasket. It was a shabby carnival bear they'd won years ago, back when they were still poor, one of the rare times they'd splurged on a shooting gallery at a traveling fair. When they'd first moved into this downtown penthouse, Riley had scoffed and told her to toss it. She'd cradled it, eyes soft with nostalgia, and said, "Let's keep it. We have to hold on to some memories." Now the bear had been thrown away like trash. He remembered how, after lying to her for years, he'd coaxed her into staying and had no choice but to indulge her useless keepsakes. Useless, really? A tightness spread across his chest. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Could Lily really walk away this decisively? When they'd first met, he'd dragged her out of the swollen river after she'd tumbled from a viewing platform. She'd stared at him then, terrified, lost, a fawn separated from its mother. He had saved her life. They'd been together 7 years, how could she just leave? A restless irritation gnawed at him. He rubbed his temples and dialed her number. Call after call rang endlessly before switching to an automatic message, and eventually he couldn't get through at all. She'd blocked him. Veins throbbed in his forehead as he opened her chat window and typed, "Lily, you've really grown a pair. I don't care where you are, be back here within 2 hours or don't ever come back." But the message bounced, a red exclamation mark stabbed at his eyes. Bang! Damn it! He kicked the coffee table over, the impact toppled the smart trash can beside it. The lid flipped, and a piece of ginger rolled out. Cameron, he bent and picked up the rhizome, its end clearly bitten off. Who in this household casually gnaws raw ginger? His eyes widened, the truth flickering just beyond belief. Who ever inspects the inside of a trash can? If he hadn't sent it flying, when would he have found out? Vivian had staged the whole thing. His fingers trembled, the phone rang and he answered in a panic. "Hello? Avery, this is Grand Move, the company you phoned about yesterday. We can't accept your complaint, sir. He specifically told our crew they weren't needed. She said the maid could handle the boxes, that movers would only break things the company couldn't afford to replace. She even forbade us to use the elevator." He had no memory of the call ending. Only then did it hit him, Lily had lugged every single carton up here herself. All along he'd assumed she'd merely unpacked. How could Vivian treat her like that, bully her so shamelessly? Yet the moment the question formed, another voice in his head countered. Was Vivian the only one who bullied Lily? Riley blinked slowly. When he touched his face, his hand came away wet and ice-cold. Refusing to believe, he tore through the apartment searching for any shred of Lily's presence. He flung open every door, convinced she couldn't truly be gone. Before, the place had never felt vast. Now, with Lily gone, it felt cavernous and frigid. "Lily!" His hoarse shout was swallowed by silence. He yanked open the storage room cabinet, and everything cascaded out. Sheets of paper rained over him. He looked down to find page after page of printed wedding scenes, every one annotated in her handwriting. Each picture was of the ceremony they used to daydream about back in their cramped rental, curled together on the sofa. When, exactly, had she started planning their wedding? And how could he, without a twinge of conscience, hand that same task to her for his wedding with someone else? Without thinking, Riley slapped himself across the face. But when he looked up again, he froze. The whole closet was crammed with baby things, bottles, pacifiers, tiny outfits, soft toys, every item now dusty, their bright colors long since dulled. His chest ached until it turned sour as he wondered what Lily had felt the day she bought them, how, only days after losing their child, she discovered her husband had been lying to her. How had she forgiven him and moved in here with these things still in her suitcase? The tears came faster and fiercer, and only then did he understand, when pain is absolute, you cry in silence. He sank to the floor, the tattered carnival bear clutched in his fist. He had no idea how long he sat there before his phone rang, jarringly cheerful. A buddy's laughing voice spilled through. "Alex, come out for drinks. All you do is work these days." "Yeah, we heard your little kept woman found out about the wedding." "So? Any tears, tantrums, or threats to jump off a roof? Don't forget the $10 million bet, pay up when you lose." Riley blinked, a sudden, blind fury flooding his lungs. He crushed the phone in his grip and roared into it. "Shut up! All of you, just shut the hell up. Who gave you the right to talk about Lily? Who do you think you are?" The line went dead. Only after a long stretch did someone cautiously speak. "Riley, what's wrong with you?" Tears burst free, his voice shredded. "Lily's gone. She's damn well gone." Bang! He hurled the phone away and raked his fingers deep into his hair. It hit him that he had never once pictured a life without Lily. "Avery." A voice drifted through the doorway. He lifted his head slowly and met Vivian's stunned gaze amid the wreckage. After a beat, he ground out her name through clenched teeth. "Vivian!" Meanwhile, I had already stepped off the plane. The foreign wind hit my face and every cell in my body felt lighter. This, I thought, is what a new life smells like. Before I could look around, I heard my name. "Lily!" I turned. Chase strode toward me and swept me into his arms. A clean, sun-warmed scent filled my lungs. "I finally have you." The words carried two meanings, his voice trembling. I hesitated, then hugged him back and patted his shoulder. "Long time no see, Chase." We had been high school classmates, he on cello, me on grand piano. We played together constantly and majored in the same department in college. If I hadn't met Riley, I would probably have followed Chase to Vienna after my parents died and the family money vanished. Vienna had always been my dream too. Over the next few days, Chase showed me the city. He was careful, never crossing a line. We toured Schönbrunn and visited St. Stephen's Cathedral. When we tired, we rested on a park bench in the shade. I found myself staring at a grand piano sitting nearby. In this city, grand pianos pop up on sidewalks like flowers. "Want to try?" he asked softly. I flushed and shook my head. I haven't played in years. During my life with Riley, I had worked at a music conservatory, but only as errand staff. I barely touched the keys. On nights when I was alone, I would lift the lid, hesitate, then close it again. I couldn't shame Chase by stumbling through a piece in public, but he simply took my wrist, pulled me up, and led me to the bench. "Lily, if you want to play, then play." He sat beside me, eyes shining, a small smile on his lips. Sunlight painted his face gold. "I'll help." He struck a single note, looking almost shy. "Well, help is generous, I'm a piano novice." "Teach me, will you?" I knew he was cushioning my fear, yet courage stirred. My fingers found the keys and a stream of notes spilled out. When Chase joined, the music soared, white pigeons burst from the cathedral roof. I was transfixed. When we finished, applause rippled through the onlookers. Chase brushed the corner of my mouth with his fingertip. "Lily, that's the first time I've seen you smile since you arrived." I blinked, then laughed freely. "Chase, thank you, really, thank you." He studied me, then leaned in and kissed my brow. "Lily, I'm going to keep you happy." As music thawed my heart, my feelings for Chase deepened. We roamed Vienna by day and played duets at dusk. He even found me a job at a concert hall, letting me reclaim the life I'd lost. I woke each morning looking forward to the day, and Riley became an old scar, already sealed. I told myself I would never see Riley again. But fate loves a contradiction. That evening, after Chase and I strolled hand in hand from a recital beneath the sunset, a sports car screeched to the curb. A man erupted from the driver's seat, face dark with rage, striding straight at us. My stomach dropped. I instinctively stepped back. It was Riley. "Lily, who the hell is he?" He stopped inches away, registering how Chase shielded me with one arm, and snapped like a cornered dog. His cheeks were hollow, stubble thick, yet his eyes blazed the moment they saw me. "You must be Riley?" Chase demanded, brows clamped in a frown. "Shut it! I'm talking to Lily, this is none of your business." Riley barked, voice quivering with barely caged fury. "Lily, explain." I moved in front of Chase and met Riley's eyes. "Who he is doesn't concern you." "There's nothing to explain, we're done." Riley's eyes widened, jaw clenched. "Done?" I never agreed to that. He seized my wrist and yanked me toward the car. "Come home. I'll call off the merger, cancel the wedding. If you want to marry, we'll marry. If you want a child, we'll have one." Smack! I wrenched free and slapped him hard across the face before Chase could react. "You're insane, Riley." I said we're finished. What part don't you understand? His head snapped sideways. When he looked back, his eyes were bloodshot. "Tell me what you need, Lily. I'll give you the world, just come home, please?" His voice cracked. He squeezed his eyes shut for a second before he could steady himself. "Sorry, just now. I lost it. Lily, these weeks without you, nothing, and I mean nothing, feels right. I was the jackass, I was the bastard, but can't you, just once, spare our 7 years and give me another chance?" His whole face was begging, raw anguish nailed on me. I almost laughed in his face, the rage popping out of me right there. "Riley, where do you get the nerve to ask for another round? You're the last human alive who gets to speak of those 7 years. Meeting his stunned stare, I kept going. "You lied to me for 6 straight years. While I followed you around, juggling 3 jobs a day, tell me, what were you doing?" "You were out boozing with your buddies. Let me guess, you were laughing that my whole sweaty shift wasn't worth a single bottle of your champagne, right? Riley, should I remind you? The night our baby died, you were in a club throwing a 400 grand bash for Vivian's birthday, bragging Alex is picking up the tab." "Pretty generous, Alex." Riley froze, then dropped his head, shame oozing off him. I was just. The memory of how helpless I'd felt gutted me, my own voice wobbled. "In year 7 you knelt on the floor, swore it was your last lie, swore you'd give me the good life. If everything we had is your idea of the good life, Riley, I'd rather pass. Now get lost, I never want to see you again." The instant I finished, I grabbed Chase's hand and spun away. "But Lily!" "I really get it now. What more do you want from me?" Riley lurched after us. Chase finally snapped and smashed a fist into his jaw. Back off. Didn't you hear Lily say she never wants to see you? Riley staggered, knuckles crackling as he balled his fists, but 2 patrolling guards spotted the scuffle. I shouted to them in their own language that this man had attacked us. While the guards pinned Riley's arms, I didn't spare him a glance. I dragged Chase straight out of there. Lily! I won't give up, he roared. I never looked back. Soon after, the gifts started arriving, non-stop. Riley somehow dug up Chase's estate address, presumably using some shady channels. Huge bouquets, then every designer label you can name. I refused them all, or had the concierge toss them. I never cracked the door open once. He kept harassing, but I refused to let him derail my schedule. I still showed up everywhere with Chase on my arm. When the nuisance got unbearable, I simply told security and the property manager to blacklist Riley. Gradually, he showed up less and less. No doubt skipping the engagement his family wanted and ignoring the company had finally brought the Averys down on him. Chase itched to throw punches more than once each time I shook my head. A single extra syllable wasted on that man felt toxic. One evening, as Chase and I reached the front gate, thousands of pastel balloons bobbed overhead. I glanced up, momentarily dazed. Riley had slipped past security somehow and now knelt on one knee, eyes shining. Lily, marry me. I stared into those eyes and remembered, I had once told him that when he got rich he'd have to propose with a sky full of balloons, just like the movie I loved as a kid. But I no longer cared. A delayed declaration of love is cheaper than weeds. Riley, quit wasting fuel. I'm marrying Chase. I spoke cold, final. At first he wouldn't believe it, until I kissed Chase full on the mouth right in front of him. Then his eyes nearly split open. He knew I don't joke about things like that. He couldn't take it. He lunged, grabbed my shoulders, voice cracking. Lily, how could you do this to me? You said you liked me. You said you loved me. What do I have to do for your forgiveness? To his almost childish demand, I shoved him off and answered, ice cold. Riley, we're done. I'm choosing not to love you anymore, and I want you gone from my life. He stood under the eaves for Morgan while a torrential storm battered the roof all day. He swayed, but kept forcing himself to stay upright. I had no idea what he thought that proved, and I couldn't be bothered. In the end, Avery's staff hauled him away, face burning with fever. His back looked broken, soul hollow. Not long after, word reached me that the Avery conglomerate had imploded. Riley had torpedoed the engagement without discussion, scandal of the decade for both Averys and Van Cess. The family locked him up to reflect. After all, he wasn't the only heir in that clan. He escaped the guards, and the next headline was Vivian's death. I shut my eyes. I'd known he would trace it back. His engagement to Vivian had been inked 5 years earlier. So Vivian had known about me for ages, and hated me for just as long. She hired the driver who killed my baby and left my knees unable to take long stands. The police said her plan had been to wipe me out completely. I'd crawled out of the wreck by sheer luck. When Riley found out, he confronted her, already half-crazed by then. He idiotically believed that if he killed Vivian I'd give him another shot. He stabbed her a dozen times, and all he got for it was the wail of sirens. Vivian died on the table. The judge threw the book at Riley, life without parole. Before transfer to prison he asked to see me. I refused without a second thought. My wedding was around the corner. The dead past could stay buried. The ceremony unfolded on a sapphire coast, thousands of pale blue petals spiraling in the wind. I walked forward in my wedding gown, pace slow. Soft voices hummed blessings, sounding like wishes from a million waves. Every dark, ugly yesterday fell away with each step. At the end of the aisle, Chase waited. I couldn't help smiling, ready to claim the beautiful life that was finally mine. Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales. See you next time.